Well, a very good morning to you. This is how we start the program this morning, AM Prime. We're talking in the morning after the presentation of the budget for this 2022 period, 2022 to 23, where we heard what the figures were, lots of things to chew on. We're talking about that in a moment. Also, we'll tell you we're talking about Christmas, which is around the corner, and a Parang revival, which is planned for the people in the Palo Seco, Rancho Quemado area. Ronald Prince and Jude Lejeune will join us for that. We take a look around the region, and we'll tell you what the Newsday poll and the question and the responses are this morning as well. But right now, we're getting to the budget, the responses to it. One of the things we want to talk about, because this is a trade union leader, we're talking here, Mr. Ram Kisun, about the fact that the government has taken the matter to court to stop the teachers from relaxing and reflecting as part of their response to it. Also, the Minister of Finance announced in the budget yesterday that 4% is the best the government can do. The matter is likely to probably head back in the court again. We don't know what the situation is, but how do we move forward from there? Leo Ramkisoon, one of the trade union leaders in this position on the other side of the government, on the other side of the 4%. Good morning, good to see you, sir.
Good morning, Andy. Good morning to Trinidad and Tobago. Thanks for having me.
All right. And you're representing, of course, you're the president of the Fire Services Association of Trinidad and Tobago. One imagines that you would speak, generally speaking, for the conglomeration of unions of which you are a part. Tell us what your view is, what your reaction is.
Well, are we talking about the budget specifically?
Yes. You could expand it to.
Well, from a worker's point of view, the budget clearly is, suggesting that we will be facing some very difficult days ahead, some very difficult times ahead, because just starting from the indicator in terms of salary negotiations, there appears to be no intention to move the offer forward in any way. There doesn't seem to be any intention to continue along the bargaining process. It seems that there is a strong arm tactic in place. And whilst that is happening, we are seeing, whilst the government have offered the population one or two incentives or goodies, they are taken back much more in terms of the rise in prices for gas and for other commodities and so on. So we are seeing the cost of living is going to go up. And whilst that is happening, there is no intention to offer workers or the population at large the opportunity to really address our own situation and our own condition so that we could survive and we could cope. So it's a really gloomy outlook from our perspective, and I'm certain that's the sentiment across the working class. We certainly have not met yet as the joint trade union movement coming out of the budget. It is our intention to meet between today and tomorrow. So I guess that more will be said at that point in terms of the working class. But if I'm to offer the perspective from the Fire Service Association,
yes,
I was quite taken aback, because whilst I heard the minister go into some detail in terms of other agencies and even under other ministries, such as the Ministry of Health, I heard discourse in the Ministry of Education and one or two other agencies, even in the Ministry of National Security. I heard not one single word mentioned about the issues to be addressed in the fire service, the myriad of issues that we would have been highlighting, very, very concerning issues that we would have been highlighting. And whilst he failed to mention anything to do with the fire service, he was highlighting the importance of safety and security in order to attract foreign investment. And here it is, the fire service, who would be the main agency responsible for emergency response when it comes to safety at industrial businesses, commercial businesses, foreign investment, even tourism, tourists, and other sectors of the population. There was no intention to outfit the fire service, some of the stations of which there is no fire truck there at this morning. There is a severe lack of breathing apparatus sets and other personal protective equipment. We are not hearing how the government, coming out of this budget, where there is a clear increase in revenue, we are not hearing any plans in the budget to address our nation's fire service, and that is really, really alarming. It seems like we have gotten from bad to worse.
You don't expect that those matters might be addressed by the Minister of National Security himself?
Well, I am hoping that there is some plans, but Andy, why I am so concerned is that in the past, under other ministers of national security, at least the budget presentation would have had some suggestion that fire service would have been in the contemplation of the Minister of Finance. He would have been provided with some, the draft estimates would have, presented an invitation to treat with the fire service. But if I am to measure what or extrapolate from the budget, what I estimate is to be how the fire service will be addressed, I heard nothing, and that is very concerning to me, because that has been the usual way of doing business. That is an indication to me that there is no plans, as normal, there is no plans to treat with the fire service. So I am very, very, very concerned. My members are truly concerned about that.
All right.
It seems we are more and more neglected.
Okay, let's talk about the minister's position that 4% is the best that the government can do. You seem to be still leaving some room open for the revision of this, because he says that is the best we can do, so that there's going to be no negotiations further than that.
Well, all the many years that we have been engaged in negotiations, and negotiations usually does not entail two sit-ins with the CPU, and that's the end of it. Usually negotiations would be a weekly scheduled basis where each party come to the table and are given an opportunity to ventilate ways to work around the offer and to try to hammer out an agreement. What we're seeing right now is a real strong arm tactics, take it or leave it, 4% over 6 years. And then on top of that, we have the ministers, even the Prime Minister I am reading this morning, that has suggested that if we don't accept the 4%, then it is for the court to decide. But I want to say, Andy, that this matter is already on trial, and it is before a much higher court. It's the court of public opinion. And you see at the polls, that is where the verdict will be read. So, my membership, when I met with them, they have examined closely what 4% means in real terms for fire officers. That means a $200 increase across the largest cross-section of the fire service. It's a $200 increase over the last 9 years, I would have to say, because it's up to current rate. And that does not address the percentage of increase in the cost of living in terms of inflation and so on, which has gone up in headline inflation over 40%, and food inflation has gone up over 22%. So whilst the minister is telling us to accept $200, the increase in the cost of living has gone up over $1,600. So my members are saying simply that it does not make sense whatsoever to give the employer the benefit of going back to the polls to boast that they have been able successfully to force the unions to accept an increase that really is working out to be an actual cut in wages. And they have been able successfully around the table to settle wage negotiations, whilst we are accepting something that really, it says that we have no self-worth as workers. We do not respect ourselves. We do not intend to really address our own conditions and be able to survive and to feed our families and put a roof over our heads. So our members have rejected it. We continue to reject it. And we will allow this matter to play out in the various courts, including the Court of Public Opinion, as well as the higher court before the Most High.
What is the meaning of that? Allow it to play out, and you're rejecting it. What's the impact of that? So you won't accept, and which you're speaking here, sort of on behalf of the rest of the trade unions in representing workers in the public sector. So you reject the 4% position as a final position, and therefore what?
I can speak conclusively in this instance on behalf of my membership, Fire Service Association membership. I could speak in general terms the sentiments of the joint trade union movement, which at this time it's one and the same. We outright reject that 4%. It makes no sense whatsoever to accept that at this time. My membership has expressed the sentiment that if that is what is being offered, they might as well keep that. It does not make sense. My members are highlighting that what we expect at this time, while that is happening, while that struggle is going on, and the state wants to force us to go before the courts to prove to the court that we have somehow disenfranchised them by not taking a 2% for 14 to 16 and 2% for 17 to 19. We, the fire officers, are insisting that our health and safety concerns in terms of our breathing apparatus sets, our conditions in the workplace have to be addressed. And that is something that we place even higher than any other issue, because we could have the best salary in the world. The reality is that when fire officers go into a smoke-filled environment as we are now, and we have no breathing apparatus set, we are signing up for suicide. That is giving up a large portion of our lives, and it's a slow, painful, agonizing death that comes by way of respiratory illnesses and cancers and so on. That is what is happening. And therefore, the state failing to outfit the fire service with breathing apparatus sets, personal protective equipment, some of the most basic needs we have as fire officers, which places not only us at risk, they are placing members of the public, the entire public population at risk. Because as we speak, Andy, right now we have more than 6 fire stations with no fire truck to respond to the public. So it means just as we had the fire in Rio Claro recently and there was no truck there, and fire officers and members of the public had to respond on foot without a fire truck and fight the fire with a pressure washer that was brought by some member of the public. And the state is telling us that while that is happening, that they are finding money to do other things, including improve their own salary, which they improved in 2019. As the Prime Minister would have said, he doesn't want his money slipping out. But it's okay for us and members of the population to remain in this state of unsafe conditions, insecure conditions, and suffering without an adjustment to our salaries that really allows us to address our living condition.
Well, one of your I suppose, colleagues at large, so to speak, Clyde Weatherhead, who was the former president of the PSA, has put out a piece on his one of his social media platforms in which he was taking issue with the fact that the government went to court to force the teachers not to take the action they were taking, and he's seeing that as negative and sort of government's heavy-handedness in addressing this issue. What is the wider view from the trade union movement about that, and of the prospect of you all now you're thinking that you have to go to court on this question of the government sticking with the 4%?
Yes, I agree with Comrade Clyde. He, I think, is an accurate depiction of the actions of the state. It's a continuation of their normal response, which is that of a high-handedness. Right? The teachers have clearly expressed, and we stand in solidarity with the teachers tutor this morning. The teachers have expressed their unhappiness, right, with what is on the table, and they expressed their very concern about the non-response of the government to their offer, and they announced how they want to deal with it. And the state, once again, in normal fashion, went to the court and enlist the court to place them, force them back out to work. And that's a normal response. But again, Andy, that these matters will not only engage the industrial court, there are other courts that will play out these things. And you just have to listen to the population, listen to the ground, and you will see how this thing will end.
But why are you putting such faith in the electorate?
Well, I believe that the right thing is the right thing. I believe in the population of Trinidad and Tobago. We are a people that recognize wrong, and we usually stand up when members of our own population, which we are part of the population. I remember that workers are who represent the wider population of Trinidad and Tobago. We are the ones that turn the wheel and so on. And when the state takes this action, which is no stranger, they did it in 1965, and they did it at various periods over our history as Trinidad and Tobago. And the population usually comes to the defense of workers and to remove those political threats that continue to place workers and the population in severe hardship while they enjoy the spoils. I mean, we are in a literal boom right now. Every time they talk about addressing the 4% and they can't afford it, we are suddenly an oil-based economy, and the threat of Ukraine war and the volatility of the economy becomes the discussion. But when that is over and they are speaking on other platforms, they are highlighting that our economy is also based on the non-oil sector to a large degree. It is based on gas prices, which is going to be lasting. I mean, I heard the Minister of Energy last night on another media house speaking about the expectation that gas prices will be gas prices will be fetching high revenues for decades to come. We are hearing the Minister of Finance talking about expected increased revenues being sustainable over a period of time. So they are speaking through two sides of their mouth. They are speaking about methanol. They are speaking about fertilizer and so on. And some of these are downstream industry revenues, as well as non-oil sector that is showing, an uptick. And therefore, that rhetoric, that propaganda that the state is using to say that they are unable to improve on that 4% when they know that they have been depositing money in the Heritage and Stabilization Fund and will be depositing more to come. We do not accept that. We are asking for a negotiation process and for them to come to the table with clean hands, bring all the true data, and we have a fair and equitable process of negotiation.
And you don't think you don't think that is happening when the minister says what it would cost even to agree to the 4% increase over for those periods that we talk about here up to 2019, what it would cost $2.43 billion up to June 2023. He said an additional $500 million is on the cards, and he said further, if it is extended to the wider state sector, the cost will almost double, $4.6 billion in arrears the government has to find. And from what you're saying, that maybe there are prospects for doing better if we look at projected energy revenues and so on. But some people will say, well, that is counting your chickens before the eggs are hatched, right? No?
I think, Andy, the minister is given conflicting information from time to time. And listen, Andy, these guys are experts at painting a narrative that will encourage, public dissent against our position and sort of skew the information. When he's presenting those figures, he is ballooning what is actually on the table. For example, he is using the offer that some unions may have placed on the table prior to this, long before this salary negotiation started. But we are not saying that you have to come and give the unions everything and exactly what they want. It's a negotiation. There is a give and take on both sides. What we are saying is that we want equity. We want fairness. what we are not getting that. What we are getting is skewed information. We are getting a strong arm approach. We are getting a position, a posture that is take it or leave it. And we have nothing more to give. And whilst they are saying that, you are hearing them openly speaking about how well they are doing now and how well they will be doing in the foreseeable future for some time to come. So we are getting conflicting data. So we are asking that, Andy, I want to say that the negotiation process by law is required in Trinidad and Tobago for us. It is required by law to be guided by the market shift, the average market shift. It means that agencies or other companies that are comparable that would have applied a percentage increase over the period under review, the CPO's office, the Postal Department, does a comparison to those companies and develops an average market shift. And that market shift is supposed to be taken into consideration in order to determine what is offered on the table for salaries. That market shift, for example, for the fire service is just under 10% right now. So how is it they are coming up with 2%? I mean, even if you are saying you cannot make what we have placed on the table for that period, and remember, that is just for the 14 to 16 period. They are offering 4% for the entire 6 years.
Yes.
You know, and so what is guiding that? So I am saying they are quite brazenly threatening to go to the court. But I have seen judgments on the court that suggest to me that if they did not take the market shift into consideration, they're going to have some problems there. But notwithstanding that, Andy, the right thing is the right thing. And what they are doing is strong-arming the population. They are not coming to the table, to the negotiating table and engaging in meaningful discussion, so that it is more of a bully tactic. So this is not good enough. Even if you want to hold on to your position, you still should have dialogue. But the state wants no dialogue. It's take it or leave it. And that's the end of that.
All right. So when you say that the government is trying to get public opinion on its side by the Minister of Finance coming and making the intervention that he did in the budget, you think that will backfire? You believe that the sentiment across the country in the body politic is not to support what the government wants to do and therefore to oppose it and reject it? Andy,
could you? I did not get the fullness of your question. Last question again, please.
Yeah, because you said when we began, you made a reference to that on a couple of occasions, that the proof of this pudding will be in the eating, and that there is a reaction to come from the wider population. And my question is, well, in saying what he did in the budget, in the presentation yesterday, the government, through the Minister of Finance, is playing for public opinion on this by saying, look, this is the best we can do, and putting the alternatives forward. But you think that reliance on that public opinion will not deliver for the government because you think that people will respond in a different way?
Yes, I believe that the public is going to respond in a negative way. It is clear. Listen to the ground, Andy. You would see that the government is currently out of touch with the common man on the ground. They are not paying enough attention to those persons out there, the average man who is trying to be able to put a roof over his head. We are unable to go and attract a mortgage that could offer us the opportunity to gather your home, which really speaks to your ability to develop wealth as a member of the population. They are not cognizant of the cost. They are not cognizant of how the current wages and salaries are affecting the cost of living and the ability of the population to survive and to feed their family and so on. They are clearly out of touch. Whilst they are applying these things to us, they are enjoying things like non-taxable loans and the ability to purchase vehicles and do all the things. They're clearly not cognizant of it, and the population has already shown signs of rejecting them, as what took place in Tobago, and we will see more of that as we go forward.
All right.
So that is my prediction. As long as they keep workers under stranglehold, that will be their portion in the end. It comes right back around.
All right. Thank you very much, Sir Leo Ramkisoon, the President of the Fire Services Association. We will take a break. When we come back, we share with you the Newsday question and the responses. Before we get to our next guest, Mr. Robin Narayan Singh, he's President of the Petroleum Dealers Association. Stay with us. This is AM Prime.
Human Rights says
you get 100% wood moldings and products when you use Bob's Molding for your decorating finish. Call or WhatsApp at 315-6250.
FanZone, your reliable, authentic supplier, has just gotten better. You can now visit our website www.fanzonett.com for your authentic wear and collectibles. The only place where you can use both your Visa debit and credit cards. Visit our website fanzonett.com to make your purchase today.
In a hurry, check those guys' hardware. 42 Front Street, Woodbrook. Call 750-7244. Open Monday to Saturday, 8 a.m. to 6:30 p.m. Sundays and public holidays at 8 a.m. to 4:30 p.m.
I am Rondell Donowa, attorney at law and host of Strictly Legal on WESN Content Capital. Strictly Legal is a legal program geared towards informing you, the public, of your legal rights, responsibilities, and remedies. So be viewing Thursdays 10 a.m. to 10:30 a.m.
Welcome back to the program. Well, let's share with you now the Newsday question and the responses. The Newsday poll, and the question is, what are your views on the TKR's performance at this year's CPL, and how can it be improved for next year? Let's see some of the responses. I believe Puran get too comfortable, so he don't care. It's better he change his name. Ducky. It's hard to read these things in local parlance sometimes. It was very poor and disappointing. This is another response in all departments. We need two opening batsmen who can give us solidity by a quick start and bat through the power play overs. Another response. Our team is as strong as its leader, and the leadership this season was poor. They will do better next time. I will always support, not only when they are winning. So this is a person who's saying, win, lose, or draw, I'm with the guys. And the final response, replace everyone on the team. So those are the responses to the question. What are your views on the TKR's performance, the Tobago Knight Riders' performance at this year's CPL? How can it be improved for next year? Well, with us now, the president of the Petroleum Dealers Association, Mr. Robin Narayan Singh. Based on what we heard in the budget yesterday about oil prices and how the government intends to keep the cap on it and control it, while at the same time contending that it is still protecting the population and the people who have to fill up their fuel tanks from the further ravages, because he's saying here that this is the best that is possible, but the subsidy is still there. The subsidy is not removed entirely. Good morning, sir. Good to have you.
Good morning. Good morning. Good morning to you and the Trinidad and Tobago. Andy, could you turn the volume up a little bit so I can hear you a little more clearly?
All right, I can't do it, but I think the people in the studio will do it. You're not hearing as well as you want to. That's what you're saying? You're not hearing as well as you want to?
Okay. I could hear you, but it's very, very soft.
Okay. Well, they will hear you and seek to address it from in there. All right. So give us a sense of what your sort of overall response to what you heard last night is, or yesterday afternoon.
Andy, first of all, I want to say the Minister of Finance gave a very good expose of the value chain of how the pricing of fuel, how the pricing of fuel from exploration right down to the pump. He went into the drilling, to the transportation, to the wholesale, to the retail, you know, the bunkering. He went into all the different value chain. But what was disappointing is that in August, he gave us 5 cents increase, and in September, he take it back. I mean, if you look at how this industry operates, the petroleum dealers, first of all, let us go back. The pandemic gave us an opportunity to have a reset. It gave us an opportunity to see who were the most valuable people in Trinidad and Tobago in times of an emergency. It was the doctors, the nurses, the garbage man, gas station workers, the grocery workers. But here it is, you take away these gains that we have made from in August, and then you take it away in September. So it seems as though you don't understand, either you don't understand what it is, but all these things happen because you do not have consultation with the people who are directly involved.
So you're saying that there was no consultation with anybody in the government with the petroleum dealers, and that should have been the case. That should have happened.
Well, take for example, today, if I were to buy 1,000 liters of gas today,
yes, if you were to buy 1,000 liters of gas today, what will happen?
It would cost me $800 more today, right? On top of that, I have to pay the taxes, which is business levy and green fund levy on that extra. And then thirdly, I mean, we have to pay the overdraft fees, funds, and there's very little that the gas station dealer could really could do about it, because you don't have consultation. It's as though you're making decisions in a vacuum, in an echo chamber. You just listen to yourself and you're not talking to the people who actually have to execute this for and on behalf of the people of Trinidad and Tobago.
Well, it's the government. It's not necessarily him. In this case, he's merely the messenger, wouldn't you say? So he's not doing this entirely on his own.
Well, could you repeat that again, Annie?
Yeah, I'm saying that he is the representative of the government in this case as Minister of Finance and on treating with this issue. And these things would have been the subject of discussions in the cabinet. So it's not necessarily himself, to himself, by himself, and with himself, right? So it's how the government sees what is necessary and what is affordable and what is available. Wouldn't you say?
Well, you see, when first of all, a budget is when you decide on a budget, it is the allocation of capital to the most effective use of that capital. So when you allocate money to certain sectors of your community, you have to look and see the efficiency of how that money is used. And when you take away from the gas station dealers, you put pressure on these dealers so that they are unable to provide a more efficient service to the public. There might be shortages. There will be shortages at the gas station. You create more inconvenience to the motoring public. So
if we look at the cost of fuel for all of us is going to increase, right? And what you're saying is that is simply a function of reducing the subsidy, and that you as a dealer don't benefit from what people will pay more at the pumps from this morning. That's part
yes,
of it.
You are going to be paying more this morning at the pump.
Right. But you as a dealer, you don't benefit from that. That's what you're saying.
Not at all. Not at all. We do not benefit from that. As a matter of fact, we in a lost position because of what has unfolded yesterday.
So you're saying that your returns would be less today than they were yesterday?
Of course, because all of a sudden, all our prices have increased. Our operating cost has increased, and you know everything has gone up. Our overdraft fees, our loans, everything has gone up, and as a result of that, we are placed in a worse position.
So what is likely to be your response then, not necessarily you personally, but the organization which you're the president, what is likely to be your response?
Well, we are having a meeting very shortly with some of our dealers. You hear the Minister of Energy talk about he consulted all the stakeholders, but since the Minister of Energy assumed that portfolio, he has never met with the petroleum dealers. So I don't understand how come he would say that he talked to all the stakeholders and he never spoke with the petroleum dealers.
And if you all were to meet with him, what would be some of the things you would be talking with him about?
Oh, first of all, well, all right, if we meet with him, there are a number of issues. The gas station dealers in Trinidad and Tobago do not have a license to start with.
Yes, go ahead.
The gas station dealers do not have a license. There's no security of tenure for the gas station dealers. National Petroleum could take away a gas station and give it to their friends at any time, which they are doing all the time. They're just relocating and allocating gas stations to different people in Trinidad and Tobago. And you see, when these things happen, and there's no, remember the Ministry of Energy is the chief regulator of our industry. Our industry is a heavily regulated industry. And what happens is they have leased out their regulatory power to National Petroleum. They have no control over it. They have lost control because they don't even understand what their function is. And as a result of that, we as petroleum dealers just have to operate in a vacuum because there's no regulatory powers that the petroleum dealers could turn to in case of any dispute or correction to the industry. So there's a number of issues on the table right now that the petroleum dealers need addressing with the Ministry of Energy.
And to what extent you all have sought audiences with him?
Sorry?
To what extent you will have sought audiences with him, since he's not, from based on what you say, he's not inclined to be meeting with you all. And you all are key stakeholders, and you say he has been touting the notion that he's met with all the stakeholders, but he has not met with you all, the current Minister of Energy.
Andy, there are a number of requests we made with the ministry, and everything has been ignored.
We said he has not responded to you one way or the other, the Minister of Energy.
What's that, Andy? Could you say that again?
He's not responded to you all at all, the Minister of Energy. One way or the other, he's not responded to you.
We have not met with the minister at all, not at all. I mean, we see him on TV, but we have not met with him.
Or that he has not met with you all. He has not responded to your request for a meeting.
No, he has not. He has not responded to any of our requests to have a meeting with the Petroleum Dealers Association.
So what do you think where are you all? What do you think is the position of the gas station dealers in the country then in the face of what the situation is now? What do you think is your position? You say that the NP on its own takes away the license from some and gives it to others. But if the situation is so bad, if the business is so bad, why would people be lining up to want to get into it?
I'm hearing you, so I'm not hearing you very clearly.
Yeah, I'm asking if things are so bad in this business, why are people still trying to get into it such that NP, as you say, in some cases, they remove the license from some of your members and gives it to other people to get into the business, but it is not good business, based on what you're saying.
Okay, you asked about the license, right?
Yeah.
Okay. I need the license gives the petroleum dealers security of tenure. It is the law. It is the law. It is what is stated in the Petroleum Act, that every dealer must have a petroleum license to operate a gas station. But what has happened is that for the last 10 years, no license has been issued by the Ministry of Energy. So as a result of that, the dealers do not have security of tenure. And this is causing a very, it's causing a very severe problem with dealers, security of tenure.
Yeah, but you refer to the fact that NP, who is the government's agent in this, they play by their own set of rules, given what you're saying, and in some cases...
That's right. That's right. NP plays by their own set of rules.
And in some cases, you say that you accuse them, the company, of taking away the operations from some dealers and giving it to others. And my question
Correct.
is, yeah, and my question is, if things are so bad in the business, if it is not, profitably enough for those who are in it, what is the basis on which others want to get involved, such that people's licenses are taken away and given to others?
Okay. All right. There's a perception. You see, it has a lot of cash flow, and there's a perception that is very profitable until you get into it. But if you notice, there is like it's like an in and out type of industry. There are a lot of people get into it, and then all of a sudden they are out of it, and it's like it's a big turnaround that is taking place in some of the gas stations in some areas.
A turnover, right? So that in some cases, gas stations change hands in
Correct, yes.
Yeah. Go ahead.
You see, and not only that, if you look at the development of the gas station, I invite everybody in Trinidad to come to one of my gas stations and see how dilapidated it is, to see the conditions under where some of these workers. I made representation to National Petroleum since in 2014 to come and just do a rebuild. And I would invite the whole of Trinidad, the minister, to come and see the conditions some of these workers work under and tell me if this is acceptable in 2022 for Trinidadians to be working under those conditions when National Petroleum get a subvention from the government of $160 million every year.
All right, so that part of your issue is to challenge the role and function of National Petroleum insofar as it relates to its relations with the organization and with members of this association, right?
Yes, Andy, there's so much degradation and so much. You should see when you drive over the country and you see the conditions of gas stations, you know something is wrong. They have a few showcase somewhere along the place, but when you take it in the whole in context, you will see depletion and it's forlorn, it's really deserted, like nobody pay attention to it, and yet people driving expensive cars have to come in there and fill up in these stations. It's horrible.
So what do you see as your options now? How do you can't get a hearing from the Minister of of Energy. You've tried to meet with the Minister of Finance, or what you want to appeal to the Prime Minister? What do you see as your options now for going forward, for surviving in this business?
Okay, Andy, remember we Trinidad still have combustion engines. We still have combustion engines, and we need gas stations to survive, at least for the next 25, 30 years. So what we have to do is to make sure that we have an opportunity to provide a good and efficient service. But we cannot do it alone. We have to, because the Ministry of Energy has full control and regulatory powers over the gas station. So our business has to be closely in consultation. They're supposed to have collaborations and discussions. We instead of talking and shouting at each other, we should have the opportunity to have collaboration and consultation so that improvements could abound, and for the people of Trinidad and Tobago and the gas station dealers, so give them an opportunity to provide a better service. But if you continue to do things in isolation and talk in an echo chamber, the system will not improve.
Yeah. All right, we got to go, but let me just ask you to sort of restate what you said in the beginning, so that whatever portion of the proceeds that were coming to you and your members as some kind of profit, you're going to be making less this morning and thereafter, based on what was read in the budget yesterday. That's what you're saying.
Andy, yes, we are going to be making less, but it's going to be putting a lot of stress on a lot of dealers. There's some dealers may not be able to restock because of the price. I'm not sure what provisions the government intend to make with respect to the way the prices are right now, because it's going to be very, very trying times. Hard times are ahead for the gas station dealers. It's going to be really tough.
All right, thank you very much, Mr. Narayan. We're going to have to leave it there. We will continue to talk as the situation warrants. But thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Andy.
Yeah. Robin Narayan, President of the Petroleum Dealers Association. Let's take a look at a little look around the region. We begin there this morning as we head up to the top of the hour. We go to St. Lucia, where the former Minister of Tourism is challenging the peer administration's claim that the island's tourism sector is experiencing record-breaking trends post-COVID-19. We have a report from MBC Prime News.
Former Minister of Tourism, Senator Dominic Fede, at a UWP press briefing Thursday, September 21st, has addressed the St. Lucia Tourism Authority's claims that the island has surpassed 2019 levels. Fede made a direct comparison, quoting SLTA figures in 2019 before the COVID-19 pandemic to the current figures.
Now, the year-to-date report this year suggested that from January to July, in 2019, we had a total of 262,381 stayover arrivals or guests to hotels. When compared to this year, we see that we have 209,929. So therefore, we are like over 50,000 below where we were in the pre-COVID numbers for 2022. In the cruise sector, it's even more ridiculous, where from January to July in 2019, we had 484,631,000. Year to date this year, July, we have 164,044. When we look at the yachting sector, it says that 41,499 was where we were at as of July 2019 from January. We have over 30,000 less. We see in every area, in the yachting, in the cruising, and in the hotel statistics, the industry has underperformed significantly.
Fede says this is the worst the cruise ship sector has done in 25 years. He stated the inactivity at the ports is very appalling status of affairs for those individuals who rely upon the sector for income and daily operations.
We are presiding over the worst summer the cruise industry has seen in the last 25 years. Usually in the off-season, you would have cruise ships coming on Wednesdays and on Thursdays.
All right, we'll be back on the other side of this break. We have news at the top of the hour. Stay with us. When we come back, we're talking Parang, we're talking Christmas coming, we're talking with Jude Lejeune and Ronald Prince on that. Stay with us.
You get 100% wood moldings and products when you use Bob's Molding for your decorating finish. Call or WhatsApp at 315-6250.
The Guide family has been serving TNT for over 80 years. JE Guide Funeral Home and Crematorium, 2 locations, San Fernando and Princestown.
In a hurry, check those guys' hardware. 42 Front Street, Woodbrook. Call 750-7244. Open Monday to Saturday, 8 a.m. to 6:30 p.m. Sundays and public holidays at 8 a.m. to 4:30 p.m.
Here's your WESN News on the Hour. I am Denise St. Clair. Thanks for joining us. Here are the headlines. Finance Minister presents Budget 2022-2023. Opposition joins protesters outside Parliament. Now for the details. The fiscal deficit has been reduced to $2.43 billion, down from $9.1 billion at the time the last budget was read. This was revealed by Finance Minister Khom Imbert as he presented the fiscal package in Parliament on Monday. The minister announced an adjustment of fuel prices, which he says will ensure we stay within the TT $1 billion cap. The minister also weighed in on housing, to which he said billions of dollars will be allotted to HDC for the completion of the construction of housing units.
We are arranging 3 government-guaranteed loans totaling $1.5 billion. Of which $500 million will fund the completion of stalled or existing housing projects. Another $500 million will be used for the payments of debts owed to contractors and suppliers. And a further $500 million will be used for the construction of new housing units.
Students seeking to pursue studies via GATE have now also been afforded a better opportunity.
We have decided to adjust the enrolled in institutions and programs accredited by the Accreditation Council of Trinidad and Tobago to qualify for GATE if they have completed an initial program of study, such as a diploma or associate degree, or the N1 level at UWI, and they wish to upgrade to a bachelor's degree.
The minister said the government is firm in the view that the current offer of 4% to public servants is equitable.
Our offer of a 4% increase over the period 2014 to 2019 is the best we can do. And even at this level, we will have to dig deep to find the $4.6 billion in back pay that will flow from this. However, Madam Speaker, I wish to confirm that the government stands ready to make good on our offer as soon as it is accepted.
Finance Minister Imbert also announced that government is set to allocate the sum of $210 million for fiscal 2023 as a special payment to be distributed to health workers in TNT.
Instructions of the Prime Minister, Dr. the Honorable Keith Rowley, to allocate the sum of $210 million in the estimates of expenditure for fiscal 2023 as a special payment to be distributed to health workers in Trinidad and Tobago. This will involve ex gratia payments to over 20,000 health workers.
Well, Budget Day was not short of the shenanigans. Hundreds of persons backed by opposition members lined the street outside of Parliament just before the start of the budget, armed with placards as the ministers and MPs made their arrival.
And what do you expect them to do today? Further punishment, further crushing blows, higher cost of living. The price of fuel will increase again because Imberg does not share. So people have to stand up and to demonstrate their opposition. Rowley must go! Orange must go! Imberg must go! And Rowley must go! I take Rowley too. Today and stand today that enough is enough. It is time for Rowley to go.
Well, that was your news to the hour on WESN. I am Denise Sinclair. Thanks for watching. With society plagued by a host of issues, with debates surrounding our urgent concerns falling short, with questions of our future not always being answered.
The conversation continues. Join me, Kemuel Pascal, as the voice of the youth comes to life. We will confront the controversial topics of today's world to gain answers that are key for a better tomorrow. One and One with me, Kemuel Pascal. Wednesdays at 10 a.m. Only on WESN Content Capital.
Fan Zone, your reliable, authentic supplier, has just gotten better. You can now visit our website www.fanzonett.com for your authentic wear and collectibles. The only place where you can use both your Visa debit and credit cards. Visit our website fanzonett.com to make your purchase today.
The best laptops and tablets are at dbesttoys.com. Get a Gateway 14.1-inch Ultra Slim notebook or an HP 14-inch laptop at the best prices in TNT. Get the Fire 7 tablet for $474. You can also shop the latest Amazon Fire Sticks. Call now at 32-DBEST to order or visit us in-store at Forces Flagship MacBean. Shop online now at dbesttoys.com. Free delivery available throughout Trinidad and Tobago. Cash or links on delivery.
Welcome back to the program. Well, up ahead we'll be talking about Parang, a revival of that famous Christmas kind of festival down in Rancho Quemado. They're calling it the Rancho Quemado Parang Revival. We're talking about that with the two of the major organizers, Ronald Prince and Jude Lejean. Also, we'll get to a second feature around the region in a bit, but at this point, let me just show you what's on the front pages of these newspapers that we brought here on the program at this time. That's the Newsday. Of course, the stuff is about yesterday's presentation of the budget. They call it give and take, no tax on $7.5 thousand a month income, more help for SMEs, money for health workers, and the gate is expanded. On the other side, if fuel prices go up, a flat no to unions, 4% or nothing, take it or leave it. The ferry fee for people over 60, they'll pay a small fee, whereas up to this point it was free travel and a slight increase in the air bridge fees from Trinidad to Tobago and vice versa. So that's the situation in these newspapers. Well, in the Tobago Newsday, this is what the front page looks like. And this is the back page. Don't panic over murders. The murder rate in Tobago is going up worryingly, but the people in charge are saying don't panic too much. The chief of police in Tobago, after 3 people killed in 3 days, carrying up the death toll, the murder toll in the country in the space of a week. But they're saying not to take it too seriously. The police suggest that they have it under control, or they will bring it under control. Let's take a look now again, outside around the region. We go to a report from the Grenada Information Service. A midterm review is being conducted for the Climate Smart Agriculture and Rural Enterprises program. Let's take a look at what that is.
A midterm review of the Climate Smart Agriculture and Rural Enterprise Program, also known as SIAP, is a 6-year program that has improved the lives and livelihood of farmers and fishers, is now underway in Grenada. A team from the funding agency IFAD, supported by representatives of the Project Implementation Unit, inclusive of Byron Campbell, the project manager, Kenley Edwards, Climate Smart Agriculture Coordinator, Michelle John, Monitoring and Evaluation Specialist, and Extension Officers, engaged several of the beneficiaries to receive first-hand feedback on how they have benefited and to identify issues and loopholes in the program's implementation.
It's a 6-year project and we are now at the midterm review. In other words, at the junction where the project is being reviewed to determine how successful it's been, what's working, what's not working, how can we improve it. I think it's also timely from the point of view that here you have a new administration. In the midterm review you can determine, we have already spent I think just over 40% of the funds. The government can determine at this juncture its priorities. In other words, what in terms of climate smart agriculture, agriculture in general, where should the rest of the money go? What's the best use of these funds? So a midterm review allows you to do this, to determine best use of funds. It is not only limited to agriculture, I should say. That the general view is that the project is making a difference, albeit some of the benefits has been slow in reaching. Remember, we had COVID. During that period, almost 2 years, there was very limited field work and interfacing with individuals. So delays, there's some delays certainly, because one farmer will tell you, well, you know, I've applied like 2 years. It's taking a long time. You know, why is it taking a long time? What we're finding out too is that procurement has been an issue, because with government procurement you need 3 suppliers. Sometimes you don't have 3 suppliers in Grenada, or the problem you have supply chain issues, you know. That is one of the issues we have encountered, delays in delivery of the goods to the farmers. That is a factor. So we are looking at how we can short-circuit this. How can we improve? Because that's the whole purpose of it. How can we be more timely in the delivery of these services?
The program, which began in 2019 and is scheduled to end in 2024, has supported many in the form of skills training, investments in agricultural projects, education and awareness of the recommended climate smart practices, along with extension support in their communities. Monitoring and evaluation specialist Michelle John says more than 700 have benefited.
Since the commencement of SIAP in 2019, they have provided community awareness in various topics of climate smart agriculture to 770 farmers that's throughout the parishes of Grenada, including Carriacou and Petit Martinique. We've also provided an extension support, which is hand-holding support with our extension and fisheries assistance to over 400 farmers throughout the state of Grenada. So what's happening today is just a midterm assessment of the program to see what has worked and what needs to be improved on for the last 18 months of the program, because SIAP will be closing in March, officially March 2024.
The midterm review will continue next week with several engagements, including a meeting with officials from the Ministry of Agriculture and Lands, Fisheries and Cooperatives, as well as the district officers. The goal of the SIAP program is to contribute to the reduction of poverty and vulnerability of men and women in rural communities in the state of Grenada. The 3 components of the SIAP program are the enterprise business development, climate smart agriculture, and program management.
All right, so let's get to this discussion now. Ronald Prince, he's a committee member, and Jude Lejean, he's the chairman of an organization called the Industry Park Improvement Committee. Towards that end, to do the work that they see is necessary to be done, we will talk about that, a little bit of what is required and what the ambitions are. It is something called, they are promoting something called, and producing something called the Rancho Quemado Parang Revival. Gentlemen, good morning. Good to see both of you. I'm sort of not hearing you, Jude. I'm seeing you trying to talk, but I'm not hearing you. All right, so let's talk about what it is, the as you call it, the Rancho Quemado Parang Revival.
Yeah, you hearing me now?
Yes.
Okay. So the name of the event is really Viva Parang,
All right.
which in English means long live Parang.
Yes.
That idea was given to us by the Member of Parliament for the area. We were having an event in Easter at the Industry Park. And well, of course I was there. We were there, Prince and I was there. Prince was part of the organizing committee of that event. And the MP came to me and said, Jude, I understand you have a passion for Parang, and I know you're involved on an event called Parang on the Hill in San Fernando. Why don't you do something for us in this area for like Parang in July? I said, sure, that's not a problem. So we got our team together, which includes Ronald, Charlene Chandler, Desmond Simon, and Eugene Galan, and Kathleen Prince. And we had a meeting, and we decided that having it in July would be too soon. So we would let's have it in October instead, give us enough planning time. And then we were thinking about a name for the committee. And because the offer was made in Industry Park, and we are all from the area and understand what Industry Park means to us, we thought we'd call it the Industry Park Improvement Committee. And we decided that we have a Parang competition. And that's more or less the genesis of it.
And you say, when is it?
It's going to be held in Industry Park. A lot of people don't know where Industry Park is, but it is the velodrome where all Petrotrin, BP, TPD sports were kept in the past.
And the idea is to get some momentum about bringing the place back to some form of how it used to be, because you know there's these laments about what it has become.
Yeah. As you would know, and the Industry Park and the velodrome, more so the Industry Park, was at one time the hub of sports in the whole area, from Erin to Superior to Point. A lot of people in the area did a lot of sports in Industry Park: cricket, football, billiards, you name it. And over the years, the Industry Park has fallen into a bit of, I won't say disrepair, but it's not being attended to as it used to be. And that happened many years ago, not recently. That happened many years ago. They changed it from Petrotrin Sports Club to Palo Seco Sports Club, thereby releasing the company's name from it and the company's responsibility. And we decided we'll do this event, and the funds derived from it will go towards the improvement of the park. Whatever we can do to improve it, we will. What I'm thinking is that we'll have a jogging track along Industry Park, so that the young, old, and not so young could have a means to exercise.
Yeah. All right, Ronald. Let's talk a little bit about the program itself, the Parang program. What is planned? You know, what would people be encouraged to come and participate in?
Well, we have approximately like 8 bands to take part in the competition, and we have some guest artists. And right about now, a lot of people they're hearing about it, so they want to come and sing. Parang has been sort of out of this area a while, and here's a hub for Parang. We have the Rancho Quemado area, which is rich in Spanish, and our whole area is like the Parang area. You know, lots of tunes, you know, like Barra and all of they know that down here is Parang. When you come south, you come to Palo Seco, you come to Rancho, you come to Parang. So we want to bring that back. So we have a couple guest artists. We also have Bongo Spear is on the program also, and some other guest Parang bands will be coming to participate at this event.
And Bongo Spear, in fact, is one of my relatives, and he's a Parsico boy as well. So,
Pardon, Andy?
I said he's a relative of mine. He's from the district, right? Bongo Spear.
Yes.
The issue is that Parang itself has sort of died in the region when groups from Rancho Queimado used to top the Parang competitions in the country. So it is an attempt to revive that as well, right?
I'm not hearing you clearly, Andy. Say it again.
You're not. I'm talking with the fact that
yes.
It is also an attempt to revive, this art form that people in that part of the country, in our part of the country, used to dominate when there used to be major Parang festivals in Trinidad. I was going to say in Trinidad.
Yes, and we had a lot of Paranderos who passed away. And we're going to be honoring one of them, who's Philip Salazar. He won Best Male Vocalist numerous times. So the event partly is honoring Philip Salazar also.
Yeah, and so we have, there's a number of groups that will be performing. I mean, how the thing will take shape and so on, what people would like to see.
Yeah, so some of the groups we're having are Los Sonidos, Los Maestros de Música, Los Ruiseñores, Amigos Cantadores, Los Buenos Paranderos, BB Serenadas, and we may have Los Alumnos de San Juan as a guest band. We also have La Divina Pastora.
Yeah, and of course that was Daisy Vaughn's and his group.
Correct.
La Divina
Correct.
Pastora.
Yes.
Yeah. And so where are you all with preparations now? Things have been finalized, or what you're working on still, what you need to nail into place between now and then, Rana?
We have like mostly the prizes. Prizes have been secured by sponsorships. And we still, anybody want to come forward because, we still have overhead expenses that we want to clear. And we are hoping that the bar sales will kind of offset that. But right about now, we still in the red, you can see, having this event and making it a success. So we're still looking for sponsorships. Anybody want to come forward, please, you can. But basically, everything is in place, and we're going straight ahead with it. We're not holding back at all.
If people want to contact you all, how do they do that?
They can call 397-5833 or Ronald Prince, your number?
769-9928.
Yeah.
And on the night of the event, we are having a 16 by 10 LED screen, about 30 or 40 feet up, on which we'll be putting sponsors' names so that their names will be emblazoned across that screen to show that they've sponsored. We've gotten the first and third prize already sponsored. We expect to get some support from Heritage this week to complete that package.
Yeah, you talk a little bit about the fact that sort of the discussions you had with the MP, what led to it? I mean, what did he see that that encouraged him to suggest that?
Well, the MP is familiar with, we know each other for some years, and he is aware of my passion for Parang, and he is aware as well as of the importance of Parang as Mr. Prince said, to this area. He's also aware that the COVID-19 and has Parang been dormant for some time, for those couple of years. So he thought it'd be a good idea to, why not bring out Parang, get the people out, get the people back out, people are dying to come to something. And since Parang is synonymous with this area, why not do a Parang event?
And as
and also, Andy, it is like the Parang is around this time, but we saw it fit, and the MP saw it fit too, that we must have activities at the velodrome. So this is just a start of the revival, actually. So we starting with what we are accustomed to down here with the Parang this year. We find it fit that during the COVID, nothing happened, and this is the time. It's opening up now, so we are opening up, and we're starting the reopening. So this is just the start of many things to come. So this committee, we are working very hard and really bringing back this society, bringing back Industry Park. So that's why we are here.
Yeah. All right, you were talking about the MP, Mr. McCletchy, right?
Yes.
Yes, correct.
All right, and in the lineup, you talked about Bongo Spears. Well, you know, he's the son of a man named Patrick Johnson, who is DJ Blackjoy. I'm thinking about whether I'm thinking about that's my cousin, of course. So I'm thinking about is he going to be involved at all?
What we've also done, Andy, we've also tried to include people from the area to provide services. For example, Thompson's, they're going to provide she's from Rancho. She has a place that provides tents and chairs and things. So she's going to be one that's going to be providing that. We have a food court as such, and people from the area have been invited to provide their Spanish food, their empanadas, their pastels, and whatever they want for those 10 booths. Our decorator is a guy named Britton, Junior Britton, son of the soil again. So we are also including and giving people in the area opportunities as well.
Yeah, so this if anybody was just joining us before we, after we got into the discussion about the date and so on, so people, let's see if we could get that stuck in people's minds who are interested in coming from the area or outside of the area.
The event is called Viva Parang. It is on the Saturday, the 1st of October. It starts at 7 p.m. It's supposed to finish at 12. We have the top bands in Trinidad performing, and we're sure that anyone who enjoys Parang will enjoy themselves on that night.
All right, Saturday, the 1st of October.
Correct.
Yes, it is.
We'll see you there, Andy.
Yeah. See what?
So we hope to see you there, Andy.
Well, I'll try my best to make it. I don't want to miss it. All right, Julie Jean, Ronald Prince, thank you very much. Viva Parang.
Thank you so much, Andy.
Yeah. Thank you for the opportunity, Andy.
It was a pleasure.
Okay, man. Thanks.
All right.
Bye-bye.
We're going to take a break. We're not done yet. So we're coming back. Stay with us.
In a hurry, check those guys' hardware. 42 Front Street, Woodbrook. Call 750-7244. Open Monday to Saturday, 8 a.m. to 6:30 p.m. Sundays and public holidays at 8 a.m. to 4:30 p.m.
Let your voice be heard. Call Madam Fix It on WESN, the only place that effectively helps you with your woes. Having problems getting onto government agencies, water woes, NIS and pension problems, potholes, and much, much more. Call me, Madam Fix It, every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, right here on WESN. Let me fix it for you.
You get 100% wood moldings and products when you use Bob's Molding for your decorating finish. Call or WhatsApp at 315-6250.
Well, it's about that time. Just before we go, we tell you to watch this. And this morning, the issue is a citizen gives advice to the public on what a gang leader won't tell you. Watch this.
What your gang leader will not tell you. Use a young man.
You growing up in a broken family with no father in a crime-ridden territory. Now your nearby gang leader want more soldiers to build up his army. So who he targeting? You. So he reel you in like a fish and becomes the father figure that he knows you're looking for. Your gang affiliation also fulfills your psychological need for a feeling of belonging and brotherhood. But what you did not know is that your gang leader playing chess. He's the king and you's the pawn. The king don't mind sacrificing the pawns to protect himself. The king will use the pawns to do all his dirty work and keep his own hands clean. When you die, the king will find some other pawn to replace you with. You're not special. You put in your life on the line for the brotherhood or whatever else they brainwash you with. And when you dead or in jail, that is it for you. Your bloodline extinct. If you had children, you can't see them no more. And some other man can take your girl anyway. You have to sit down as a young man and think, wait now, my life more valuable than this. Now it's much easier to avoid the gang life altogether than to get in and then try to get out. If you're a young man, keep yourself safe from that foolishness. Peace and God bless.
And that will do it for this edition of the program. We want to thank you for watching. We want to thank our guests. We tell you, you can get in touch with us here at AM Prime. You could check us out at WESNCC on all our social media platforms. In about half an hour, the guys come in for this edition of Talking Point. Shah and Small. Stay with us for that and for other things right here on WESN. Thanks for watching. We see you next time.
WESN.
I'm Keith